Alright everybody, let's make a red velvet cream cheese pound cake with a cheesecake flavored icing. Now to get started, we'll need to make some cake flour. And cake flour, we all know, is different from all-purpose flour. So what you want to do is, however many cups it calls for, you take out 1 tablespoon of regular flour and substitute it for cornstarch. And once you sift, then you have cake flour. So let's make some cake flour. First, you want to get a cup of flour, and this part is really important. You want to make sure that's an even cup, okay? Take my cake scraper and make it even. So we're going to put it in the big bowl. We need 3 cups of flour. Now in our bowl, we have 3 cups of flour, okay? What we want to do is take out 3 tablespoons exactly. So we're going to use our little cake scraper and make it even. So it should look like that. So that's 1, and it's clean flour, so we're putting it back into our flour. We took out 3 tablespoons of flour. Now we're going to add in 3 tablespoons of cornstarch, even as possible. And that's nice and even, and we did 3 of those. Now our next step is to sift all of this many times, maybe about 4 or 5 times, so we got 2 bowls, okay? Before I'm going to whisk it first and make sure that the cornstarch is incorporated with my flour real good before I go ahead and start sifting. And you don't have to do that step, but that's just me. I want to make sure it's all there, because sometimes it's on the side of the bowl, and you need that cornstarch to make cake flour. Okay, so let's sift it. My sifter a little beat up, but that's all you got to do is dump it into the sifter, into the next bowl. Do this about 4 to 5 times. And once you get to your 5th time, you should have already reached the bowl that you started in. So that's how you know you did it right, okay? And let's give it another little sip. And then what we'll do now is we'll finish adding all our dry ingredients. But we have cake flour now, not just regular all-purpose flour. So the texture will be much. Alright, so the only dry ingredients we have to add is a half a teaspoon of salt. Just a half a teaspoon. And then whisk that together. Well incorporated. You don't want no big patch of salt when somebody goes to bite into their piece of cake. So that's real important. Everything is mixed really well. Alright, we are looking good, y'all. Now we're going to come over here and get our butter and cream cheese where we left it to get room temperature. Okay, you're going to want to add 1 8-ounce package of cream cheese. I'm using the best, which is Philadelphia. Sometimes you can use any kind. Walmart brand is pretty good. Whatever kind you have on hand. And then you want 2 sticks of butter. I have unsalted butter, and that's why I added a half a teaspoon of salt to my flour mixture. So let's get the butter in. Now 1 and 2. Okay. Now we're going to want to cream this together on like a medium speed for about 3 minutes. Now don't forget, you need about 4 tablespoons of Crisco, the butter flavor. So we're going to add that in and then complete the 3 minutes, okay? Alright, so we got that in there. Let's finish mixing that up, creaming it together. Stop and make sure you scrape the sides of the bowl down, and then keep on mixing. Just don't go over about 3 to 4, right? So you're going to want to stop and scrape your bowl, get it to where it's at. We're going to start the mixer again. We're going to add 3 cups of sugar. Alright, so we're going to put it back on like a 3. And we need 3 cups of sugar. I just want to slowly get that up in there. Alright, once the sugar got in, I only mixed it for about 45 seconds, and we're going to go ahead and add 2 teaspoons. My vanilla is a little dark. That's because I'm using the Mexican vanilla. It's really good. It's flavorful. But in this case, it doesn't matter because the cake is going to be turned red with the dye. But if I was making like a white cake, I would have to use some clear vanilla. So let's get this mixed up. Put it back on I guess like a 3. And then next we're going to do our eggs one at a time. I got 4 in my cup, and I crack them somewhere else so that way the shells don't get inside. Let's get this back on a 3. And let's do 1 at a time for the eggs. And once it beats around a little bit, then you can go ahead and add your next egg. That's good. We're going to do that for all 6 eggs. And yes, we want to save these for our garden. You want to stop your mixer and go ahead and, after the eggs, you want to get all the way to the bottom down here, because see, you can feel sugar and it's thicker down there. You want to make sure everything's incorporated, okay? And then we'll start our mixer again and add our dry ingredients. And then last will be buttermilk and red dye. So to our flour mixture, we need to add a 1/4 cup of the Hershey's unsweetened cocoa powder, okay? So just a 1/4 cup. Now put it in my sifter just so that we don't have large clumps of chocolate, because it's not a chocolate cake, it's a red velvet. Okay. And we're going to give it a whisk again. Make sure everything's incorporated. This is kind of what it looks like when you do make a chocolate cake, but it'll be way more chocolate than this. The original recipe for a red velvet cake includes Hershey's cocoa powder. That's the original recipe. But you can always get it made without it. It'll just be like a buttermilk cake. Alright, now we are ready to add our dry cake mix to our batter. We don't want to add it all at one time. We're just going to do half and half. Okay. Now put that on the 2. I don't want it to be tough. Once your batter is incorporated like that, I used my spatula and went down there and mixed it. As you can see, there's different colors. It's letting you know it's not all the way mixed together. So we have to add a 1/4 cup of buttermilk, and we're going to mix the rest by hand, and we have to add our dye. Okay, because we don't want to overwork our batter. It's a pound cake. It's not a regular cake. And even though it's a pound cake, we don't want it dry, okay? So over mixing is the key to making sure that you don't dry things out. So let's add a 1/4 cup of buttermilk. And I use my same little cup I have for my cocoa powder, and that's whole cultured buttermilk. Don't use anything less than the whole. Now we're going to give this a good turn. Just like that, get it incorporated, okay? And let's add our red dye. We're going to be adding about 2 tablespoons of red dye. That makes 1 ounce. Okay. Alright, we did 2 tablespoons of our McCormick Culinary Food Color. Alright, let's get that mixed in too. Nice and slow, nice and easy. We really don't want no air pockets in this, because it's not a cake. It's a pound cake. Okay. Let's get it mixed up. We're almost there, y'all. Alright, we are all done here. Let's go ahead and butter up our pan, get some flour in it, and get this bad boy in the oven. Alright, we got our pan nice and clean. Let's go ahead and go in with that Crisco. And you want that thing buttered so good that ain't nothing left. None of the nooks and crannies should be left. Everything should have some butter on it, or Crisco. Now let's go in a little bit of flour. I got my little baby sifter, and I'm going to just lightly sprinkle it with flour, and then I'm going to go dump it off. Okay, it should look like this. Alright, now let's get our batter in. Now if you have about the same size pan as I do, you want to stop about 1 inch almost above. Okay, and you'll probably have some batter left, but what you do is you make a little baby cake. Alright, 325 degrees for 1 hour to 1 hour and 20 minutes, but you want to check it at the 1 hour mark. If you stick something in there and pull it out and it's wet, it ain't done. Pull it out and it's dry, it's done. So let's put this in the